So, good morning or afternoon, evening, wherever everyone is. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and I also want to thank the Dscoop team for letting us present. We'll go ahead and get started since it's a little bit after the hour now. My name is Paul Furse, and I oversee sales and marketing for Harris Bruno. And a little bit about myself. I've been in print my entire life with my roots in signage as a third generation sign maker. But most importantly for today's topic, I've been deeply involved in international digital embellishment sales for well over the past decade, which I feel gives me a pretty unique insight. Notably, I was the original decorative print leader that helped bring MGI technology to Konica Minolta. I managed international business and distribution units with Scodix, and I now oversee marketing and sales for Harris Bruno. And today, I'm going to share some of that knowledge and experience and hopefully educate you on some of the concepts of digital embellishment today and where I see things going in the not so distant future. So my agenda is pretty short, but to kick things off, I am going to do a pretty fast overview of who Harris Bruno is, but I also want to tell you what I'm not going to do. And what I'm not going to do is spend this time doing a product pitch or trying to sell you something. My goal here truly is education because that's why you're here. So looking at the agenda after the introduction, we'll do a quick overview to level set digital embellishment. And then from the last print show that Harris Bruno attended, we gathered the top 4 questions which we got. And I'll now answer that for you. And that'll really be the foundation of the presentation today. And although I can give a lot more detail and really go down some rabbit holes, I am going to move kind of fast just to hit some key points. But as we said in the chat, I'm very happy to answer any questions at the end, and I do very much welcome the conversation. So kicking things off, let's talk real fast about Harris Bruno, who we are and what qualifies us to be talking about this today. And first, I want to start out by saying that we are one of the largest silent and hidden leaders in the print industry. A lot of companies are doing business with us and using our products, but I've found most of them don't realize just the full extent to how integrated we are within their facilities. We started in 1948 as a small custom mechanical engineering and machine shop for the print industry, and our focus has pretty much always been on coatings, applications, and the transport and handling of various liquids. But really a key area for us for over 75 years has been coatings. And in the context of this presentation, I would very much argue that coatings are one of the original haptic embellishments in print. Now, obviously they were developed for protective and drying purposes, but the customization of different coefficients of friction, textures, additive particulates, and even gloss levels to enhance print has been utilized for really decades now. So from those humble beginnings to the international player that we are today, it really was a logical evolution with our knowledge and history of UV coatings to grow from analog coating systems into a cutting-edge technology leader offering UV polymer-based digital embellishment systems. It really just kind of makes sense. So we launched our ZRX platform at Drupa 2024, and we pretty much overnight, we immediately became a player in that digital embellishment space. Now, I will spare you the full company history, but earlier when I said that we're one of the largest and silent leaders in our space, we currently manufacture all of the components for the coating towers for KMB, Komori, and RMGT, as well as provide the circulators or pumping systems for those presses and even others not listed here. On the digital side, we offer both inline and standalone sheet-fed and web flood coating systems. We're the exclusive partner to Landa and Kodak, but the massive adoption of inkjet web has really been a major growth area for us as well. And we provide web coating systems to Canon, Screen, and of course, HP. So once again, with our knowledge and legacy around coatings and equipment, and now digital inkjet systems, it was just a really logical evolution for us to migrate into engineering and manufacturing the digital embellishment system that we call the ZRX. So now that I've laid a little bit of groundwork and established some credibility, let's get into the topic today. I'm a big believer in whys and hows. I like to build on concepts. So I'm going to give you a foundation of digital embellishment to create some context and plant some seeds. And then the answers to the questions that follow will be just a lot easier to digest. Now, I promise the rest of this presentation is not just cartoons. There is actually an adult here behind the curtain, but I am going to start by planting a fundamental seed to keep in mind as I go through this. And I always like to start with these cartoons because it's just so relevant to digital embellishment today. And I believe that if COVID has taught us anything, it's that we as business leaders need to be able to adapt. The way that we've always done things is not necessarily always the best way, and having the flexibility to adapt and change to offer new products and processes is what drives growth for any organization. And here we have 4 scenarios of progress, labor, and energy efficiency. And efficiency not just in turning on a light bulb or loading a train instead of a horse, but efficiency in the entire use of the energy chain, from raw materials to manufacturing to end provided service, with a total lower cost of both use and ownership. And that is innovation. That's what progress is. And foil is no different. And coincidentally, in about the same time frame that both locomotives and electric light bulbs were the booming technologies of their day, other than a little bigger and faster, there hasn't been a fundamental change in stamping technology. It's still hot metal dies pressing into paper, but digital embellishment is tackling one of the last frontiers in our manufacturing industry to be digitized. And any of you business owners out there, I get it. You're thinking about orders coming in, orders going out, what your competitors are doing, why there's a holdup in binderies, should you discount the card run to keep the book work. It's always gone this way. And I get it. I've been on that side of the table. And that mind share and vision for a new technology is very difficult to see when you're in those trenches of running a successful business model. And until you can really pull away and view things from the higher ground and look out to that horizon, to the future, you just don't have space in your head to maintain much outside of what's mission critical. But I do always say the best time for change is today. And this really is a core behind digital embellishment. This is an avenue to inject profit back into print by transforming what would be commodity into a premium. This is a technology that takes a virtually unchanged manual process of the past 100 years, combines it with several other separate analog technologies, and digitizes all of it in a single footprint and makes it available to everyone. And the beauty here is that we're using conventional materials, but applying them in a digital process, hence the term digital embellishment. So also to level set, the term digital embellishment, it can be applied to any decorative technology that uses conventional material in a digital process outside of CMYK. But both Harris and Bruno and everything I'm going to talk about today is going to be specific to polymer-based embellishment. And now, no matter what, we're gonna be fundamentally talking about the 4 effects on the screen. In polymer-based embellishment, utilizing various registration techniques, which I won't go into right now, what we're doing is we're overprinting already imaged, already printed CMYK substrates. We're then inkjetting a proprietary clear UV polymer onto that substrate. And that polymer has its own decorative capabilities as well as attracting and applying foil to open even more options. Now keep in mind that every application up here has been dominated by analog mechanical systems for decades. And not only can we now rival their quality, we actually complement the analog technology by doing things they simply can't. And one of the key drivers in any competitive landscape is doing things your competitors don't, or again, even better, can't. And this is where any workflow, offset or digital, can get outside of that low margin commodity work of business cards, postcards, or really anything general commercial. And this is done, again, by using a single digital platform that replaces both the labor and floor space of multiple analog machines, utilizing a single operator and completely driven from a single PDF. Now, normally when I give this presentation live in front of people, I like to throw in a little drama and build up to engage the crowd, but for time's sake, I'm going to cut to the chase on this slide. I'm very comfortable assuming that everyone runs or has run offset, does variable data, offers some kind of wide format, and has an online presence. But that's really kind of where I go with this. I visit print operations every week, and to define that term commercial printer, it gets harder and harder each day. There are so many additional ancillary services beyond CMYK. It's not just print anymore. And I think we can all agree that the additional services there are evidence that although can be a core business, print can be used as an on-ramp to get to those sometimes more profitable services. So what all of these have in common is no one did short-run CMYK, we'll call it 500 sheets or less, before there was a digital press. No one did variable data printing on offset. No commercial printer offered wide format or signage to their clients using paints and brushes before there were digital wide format devices. And I absolutely know this because I used to paint their signs. And no one offered any advanced pre-flighting or web-to-print automations before there was an internet. And the reason everything I just said is the case is the technology and automation were simply not available to commercial printers to bring those things under one roof. They had to be invented and then eventually adopted. And when I say automation, what this really means is existing technology plus digitization, and I'll even cautiously say a reduction in the cost of labor, because there is an undeniable migration in the print world. The consolidation of the services is absolutely amazing to me. I mean, whether it's fulfillment, marketing, mail, foil, video, advertising, labels, packaging, I mean, it's all coming together. But we have to ask ourselves why. Why is this migration happening? What is enabling this change? But the answer is, well, the answer is pretty simple. And in fact, I already said it. It's all availability and ease of use. This is what digitization means. Again, I'm an old sign guy. I mean, but could you even fathom hiring a platoon of artisans and paying for the floor space to make a couple dozen signs by hand every week using paints and brushes? I mean, you can't. The payroll alone kills it. It had to be digitized to make it possible for modern printers to do it. And any printer who offers services outside of traditional print offers this service because it's profitable. That's what it's all about. There was a demand by people who would buy it, And just like before you started doing variable data, signs, or even short-run CMYK, people were buying it. They just weren't buying it from you. And the same is true of embellishments. So this is really where digital embellishment comes in. Using conventional foils and UV coatings in a digital process, we empower printers to produce the highest margin work at a fraction of the labor, time, and cost in a more sustainable process. And this empowers any brand or print buyer, for that matter, to produce a premium product regardless of the quantity, concept, variability, or even volume. So I think, as an example, just imagine 10 different proof sheets, not jobs, but 10 different proofs. And each one has a different foil, different UV effect. And if you're going to do this conventionally, I mean, where would you even begin with this? You'd need to produce at least 50 or so overs for each of them. Then you'd need 10 different dyes at minimum, 10 different screens for UV. And this would probably go to at least 2 different finishers if you don't have the equipment yourself. And we're talking days, likely weeks, and countless hours of planning, coordination, and trading checks between several different companies, including your customer, just to get this piece done. But on a digital embellishment system, on a ZRX, we would have those 10 sheets ready in a matter of minutes with a negligible amount of make ready and a single operator, all driven from a PDF. It starts in design and never leaves your building until you invoice. And this is control. This is speed to market, and it's just another premium service that printers can offer on demand to their clients. So now that we have a baseline for digital embellishment, we'll now explore the top 4 questions we get when we do shows or presentations. And question 1 is, what recent technological advancements have had the most significant impact on print embellishment? Well, I'll say the next 3 answers are really all part of the current state of the industry that I refer to as digital embellishment 3.0. And once upon a time in digital embellishment 1.0, the only digital option was sleeking. And for anyone that's not familiar, that's where a toner or adhesive would be applied to a sheet and then a foil or lamination would stick to it. Digital presses being what they were back then, this required multiple passes. And I'll just say that created a lot of waste and lost time to get a few sellable sheets. Now, I will also throw in an honorable mention from that time period to multi-station toner presses, which were also starting to make their way to market at the time to really begin to streamline this process even more. In digital embellishment 2.0, this is really where polymer-based embellishments hit the market and started to become more mainstream. And every OEM started this way. At the time, they were UV-only digital replacements for spot UV on analog screen presses. That technology advanced, and we eventually got the ability to add foil. And all of us in the business, we all thought that was it. I mean, we all thought the code was cracked. But time goes on. The segment's been there for about the past, I'd say, 8 or so years now. But again, that technology is advancing, and we have really just entered and are in the early stages of the next evolution of what I call digital embellishment 3.0. We now have the ability to apply liquid UV on uncoated paper. We can achieve finer details that, again, rival some of that conventional hot stamping work. And this foundation, combined with the growth around generative AI, with design and effects, I mean, really all I can say is that the rest of this decade is going to be pretty interesting. As far as AI goes, 2 good examples. Number 1, our ZRX platform utilizes an AI registration system. We achieve registered overprints by comparing a physical printed sheet to a digital PDF. And then we make real-time calculations to fire inkjet heads at both the precise location and height, build height, in a single pass. Our system allows us to jet variable height to create virtually any texture or pattern. And whether that sheet is skewed, shrunken, stretched, we make adjustments in real time during that imaging process to ensure that we register properly and everything lines up the way it should. Second, what companies like Adobe and especially Tactile have and are developing around design, proofing, automation, and overall creation will absolutely democratize embellishments even further. The tools they have coming will allow anyone to design for this kind of technology, integrate directly into web to print systems, and truly bring decorative print to the masses. And it all absolutely goes back to what I was saying earlier about ease of use and adoption. With finer detail, well, I guess finer detail would technically be ease of use and adoption again, but in this sense, I mean creating a logical migration path from conventional stamping to a digital process. Now, don't get me wrong, there will always be a demand for and need for conventional work. Now, notice I said migration and not replacement. But for those shorter run customers, those variable customers, or Gen Z and beyond decision makers who don't really care much about tradition, that finer detail gives a natural evolution path for printers to produce a premium product with high margins, again, without that conventional labor or overhead, give a faster speed to market. This is foil on demand. This is foil within an SLA. And here's a couple examples of finer detail. The image of my business cards on the left there are actually super cool. It's kind of hard to tell from the image, but all of that text that looks white is actually the same raised silver holographic foil on our logo. And we achieved the white look through our patented X-foil process, which applies a matte finish to tone down any luster a foil may normally produce, making things a little bit harder to read. The H&B logo was applied in a second pass, and this was all done to give pop where we want it and legibility where we don't. And what's really cool is that we run all of these cards variably as a single job. And then that seal in the bottom right is a great example of a reverse UV on top of foil to create a detailed embossed look and feel on an uncoated substrate, but without using a dye or bruising the sheet. So finally, uncoated medias. Polymer-based digital embellishment is definitely now starting to unlock uncoated medias. And this is hands down one of the biggest areas of discussion I come across. And I'm sure there's going to be questions at the end on this. But for now, I really just want to hit a key point around imaging and safety when it comes to uncoated papers. Without getting overly technical and going into dyne levels and surface energies, there's only two ways that uncoated medias are digitally embellished using a polymer today. And first, I want to talk about non-Harris Bruno technologies, the way the other guys do it. And the way that other folks do it is in a multi-layer process where a spot UV barrier is first applied in a first pass under the print heads. Then that sheet comes back around and a raised layer of polymer is applied directly on top. And this sounds good in theory, but the physics of UV require a very specific surface to keep it from diving into the sheet. Any UV that penetrates into the fibers of a sheet will remain active and creates a hazard for anyone who handles it. So for your employees or even potentially your customers. The wavelengths of UV light, the photons themselves, they just can't penetrate the fibers to cure the active UV inside of a sheet. And here's a good example. I've tried it. I'm sure some of you have tried it just to say you did. But if you've ever tried to flood coat an uncoated sheet, what happens? The sheet soaks up like a sponge, and you've got a wet, uncured sheet that has to be disposed of because there's an active chemical in it. And this isn't about doing it right or doing it wrong. I'm not slinging mud. This is just physics. So if you're utilizing or considering a technology that operates like this, I only bring it up out of concern because uncured UV is generally not friendly stuff. On the other hand, our ZRX platform is a hybrid analog and digital technology where we achieve uncoated imaging by first sealing the sheet with a proprietary and writable AQ barrier that will produce minimal, if any, change to the sheet texture, the look, or the feel. The average print buyer is just really not going to know it's there. But on an approved sheet, that barrier will allow the UV to sit on top and fully cure in that drying process. And we're the only technology that I'm aware of that utilizes this methodology. Now, not all uncoated sheets are created equal. Some are just going to be too porous for anyone to use, but there are a lot from multiple manufacturers that are very usable. And I'll go back to what I said earlier, is that we are still in the early stages of this technology, but it's only going to improve. But uncoated is absolutely a reality today. Let's go to question 2. How have these innovations made embellishments more accessible for everyone? So I like this question a lot, and I could actually do the whole presentation on this one alone, but the best short answer is probably going to be an example. And let's go back to the proof scenario that I gave you earlier, but this time I've got a static, let's say 8-up packaging sheet. And your customer comes to you, and I'm sure you've all been there, and they say, hey, the design team has a vision for this package. We pretty much know what we want, but we're open to suggestions. Yeah, sure. I mean, you can proof that job as quoted, and then try to explain that everything yellow and the file's actually going to be gold. Just use your imagination because this will be raised and this will be clear. And then you can spend hours, if not weeks, going back and forth over changes and iterations. And then you get, what if we did this? Can we do this? And my favorite, I don't understand why we can't do this. Or you can send their design team home with multiple foil and UV comps. What did I say? 8-up on a single sheet in real time when they come to do a press check. And it shows them exactly what's possible for both conception and capability. It takes all the guesswork out. So really, which option positions you to be a value-added supplier, right? You have now become part of their creative process, which can be billable, and you get the print run at the end of it. That's a win. So whether it's one sheet or 10,000, these effects are not reserved for high volume, high dollar clients anymore. This could be 10 copies of grandma's recipes in a cookbook for Christmas. It could be 100 business cards or 50 boxes for a boutique soap. It's all accessible to everyone, and you produced both the prototypes, the proof, and the run with a single operator in less time than it would have taken for the die to be etched and delivered to you. And there is absolutely value in speed to market because our instant gratification society with same-day Amazon delivery expects it. Let's see. Question 3. How do these applications break free from traditional design limitations? And as a follow-up, what does the future hold for digital embellishments? And this is a bit of a loaded one as well. And I could run with this a few different ways, but I'm going to go down the psychological path, which probably weren't expecting. So up to this point, I've talked about how digital embellishments expand design possibilities beyond CMYK and how technology has made them more accessible. And I said that printers offer premium products because they're profitable. But this is the upper end of that supply chain. Brands and companies buy embellished print to sell or communicate with consumers at the end of that supply chain. So it's really all about who's buying embellished print at the end of that. But here's the key to why it really matters. Embellishments just don't make something look nice. They change consumer behavior. Now, the statistics on the screen are specific to a packaging study performed by the FSEA that validates the power of and the effectiveness of embellished print. But packaging with these enhancements are more likely to be picked up. They hold attention longer, and overall, they're overwhelmingly perceived as higher quality. And most importantly from this, shoppers just simply prefer it. And this is that power of touch. It turns ordinary print into a true influencer at that point of decision. And going back to the previous question about democratizing those effects, everyone and every brand now has the ability to harness this cheat code. The same human response, it applies across all categories of print. And this is no different if this is a business card being passed casually, a personalized direct mail message, a decal of your favorite sports team, a greeting card, a wine label, an event ticket, annual report. I'll even a toothpaste box. Doesn't matter. That perception of quality and value raises significantly when an embellishment is applied because people buy the box and then they use the product. So I want you to think about your last trip to the grocery and how many times do you see a new product on the shelf next to your normal brand that you buy? How many times does your normal brand change the look or adds an improvement that's noted on the outside of the packaging, like a new and improved thing? And then how many times have you noticed that your normal brand offers a new product you didn't know they offered until you were standing there right in front of it? That's the point of influence. That's the point of decision. That box is both the marketing ad and the sales pitch. The whole name of the game is to get you to pick it up. It's lift. So even when you go to your mailbox, what happens? You don't even have to look. You can just close your eyes and sort through that pile. And by touch alone, as you start shuffling through it, you go junk, 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 junk. But then that one piece, it has a soft touch, or it's embossed, or it has some kind of texture. And what happens? Subconsciously, you stop and look at it. And maybe it's relevant, maybe it's not, but that message landed and it was received. So SAPI recently performed another very similar study with even more impactful results. And I didn't want to spend our time pouring through all of that, but I'm going to quote Vicky Stroll, who broke this down brilliantly, and in my opinion, are the 3 laws of tactile embellishment. And it's what you see on your screen here. Number 1, untouched is unsold. Bottom line, if they don't pick it up, they don't buy it. Both studies and many others like this prove that if a package isn't picked up, it's got a significantly smaller chance of getting purchased. Touch frequency and duration are critical triggers that move people from looking at a product to buying a product. And the same is true of anything else in print that has some kind of embellishment on it. Number 2, premium outperforms plain. Better finishes drive bigger sales. So whether it's earbuds, skincare, or even CBD packaging, consumers choose premium packaging up to 13 times more often than plain. Embellishments will consistently give brands a competitive edge. And as printers, this is the value add that should be used to justify that premium paid for embellished print. Pretty much you pay more to get more. Number 3, print is the true influencer. Touch turns paper into persuasion. Far beyond just catching your eye, any kind of premium print is going to shape your perception. It's going to invoke emotion and even increase loyalty. It creates a more memorable experience because it gives our brains another sensory feedback to associate with that memory. And shoppers generally feel nearly twice as positive when unboxing premium packaging compared to plain. The science really does show us that print doesn't just decorate, it changes behavior at the point of decision and influences future behavior. So I want to thank you guys for staying with me for this long. I've only got a couple more to go here, but let's talk about the future. And a lot of times I hear, hey, Paul, this is great, but where is this all going? What do you think this is going to look like in the future? Like I said before, we're still in those early stages of digital embellishment 3.0, where the technology is going to expand and improve, especially as we start to approach 2030. Embellishment demand is going to integrate into our daily lives faster than we realize because of its strong personalization properties and perception of value. But the first one that I see is sustainability. And spoiler alert, I'm going to hit this one on my last slide. But globally, consumers are demanding more eco-friendly and recyclable packaging. And brands have no choice but to respond. So when it comes to conventional methods, we start getting into dyes. All of those dyes require precious metals. And those precious metals have to be mined from the earth. They have to be mined, refined, transported, molded, etched, then eventually used. And I'm not here to badmouth the mining industry, but it's horribly wasteful. It generates tons of pollution and it destroys ecosystems. And digital is it's faster, cheaper, uses less energy, less labor, and overall produces significantly less waste. And as brands and designers become more educated, I very much believe that digital methodologies will become requirements for decorative print as time goes on. Second, let's talk about AI again. I touched on this earlier, but it's definitely worth repeating. I think at this point, we all understand that AI is accelerating everything, but whether it's pricing and quoting, to prototyping, designs, proofing embellished files, instead of designers spending days and weeks, that time's going to go to minutes. And AI will increase speed to market. And as AI gets smarter, it's really going to push embellishment into places that designers haven't imagined yet. And again, if you haven't heard of or checked out Tactile before, you should see what they're doing. They're one of Harris Bruno's premier partners, and they're really helping lead the way, specifically with AI in this space. And I bring this up because companies like this, what that tells me is that this is evidence of growing adoption and need specifically around these embellishment technologies. Third is expanded customization. So we all understand variable data printing. But if you take everything I just went through with the power of touch and variable data embellishment is personalization on steroids. Now I'm not talking about a postcard that says, "Hey, Paul," or God forbid, dear customer or dear resident. But imagine every postcard, every label, or every package being uniquely foiled or textured, driven by data and AI, and specific to user preference, profile, geographic region, demographic, and that's personalization on an entirely new level. And it will absolutely redefine how brands connect with individual consumers and take everything we understand about loyalty and retention to places that we just can't even imagine today. And then playing along those same lines, we have smart print. Now we take AI and customization and tie print back into the digital world. So embellishments won't just be visual or tactile in the future. They'll become part of an interactive process. So embedded NFC, near field communication chips, augmented reality triggers, scannable textures, even scented coatings. They're all going to be layered into the print itself, and packaging and print pieces won't just catch your attention. They'll extend that conversation to your phone, to your screen, and then whatever Google and Meta dream up in the next 5 or 6 years. So all in all, this might sound a little silly, but hey, the future is going to be cool. So finally, let's talk about sustainability. And question 4 is, how are digital embellishments addressing the growing demand for eco-friendly solutions? And I get asked a lot, how green are these processes really? Now, no matter what, every digital embellishment, every polymer-based digital embellishment manufacturer on the market uses some kind of UV polymer today. However, I was just talking about the massive amount of waste and energy required to produce those effects conventionally. And I have to give credit where credit's due. Scodix performed an independent life cycle assessment study on digital embellishment against conventional hot stamping to help us all get a better understanding of what this looks like. And what this study proved was that on every B1 sheet, every full-size sheet, digital embellishment processes consumed 80% less water, 85% less energy, and produced an overall 86% smaller carbon footprint on every single sheet. And that is staggering. So it is clear that digital embellishment is a superior process in the overall energy and labor chain. It is a greener choice in this regard. Now, the other big one is that anything digitally embellished is recyclable. The FSCA performed another study last year specifically targeted at MRFs, or what are called material recovery facilities, the actual recycling centers themselves. And they wanted to know if embellished sheets were actually being recycled once they hit that sorting facility. And I'll spare all the facts and figures, but long story short, what they found was embellished materials in no way impacted the automated sorting or the recyclability of the papers they were applied to. You have to have a recyclable sheet going in, not laminated, before you add embellishment to it. But in no way will the embellishment impact the automated sorting driven by sensors and cameras at those sorting facilities. So even with foil on paper, the paper still gets sorted the right way, and all the digital embellishment was successfully removed, leaving that usable fiber. So digital embellishment sheets are fully recyclable, which are all positive steps towards that more sustainable future. So that's what I have for you today. Once again, I want to thank everyone for sticking with me through that short journey there. I hope I was able to give you at least one nugget to walk away with. And I'd also like to, again, thank the Dscoop team for allowing me to speak today. And if anyone wants to have more dialogue or learn more about Harris and Bruno, my contact info is here. And I guess I don't know how much time we have left at this point, but if you want to open it up to questions, I'm more than happy to do so. Since we don't have any questions, I guess I'll give everybody a little bit of time back in their day. So I, again, greatly appreciate everyone showing up. And again, feel free to reach out if you have anything. But we'll hope to talk to some of you soon. Thanks.